This is the Johnny Cleveland Podcast, all things Cleveland sports, with your host, John Suchan. Well, good evening and welcome to the Johnny Cleveland Podcast. And this is your Victory Friday celebration of the Browns. Oh my goodness, what a game, what a evening for Browns fans. We are united, we are excited. We can't wait for those playoffs to come. The Browns are playoff bound. We don't know where or when they'll be playing, but we know that the Browns are 11-5 and headed to those playoffs. Welcome aboard the Johnny Cleveland Podcast, the Fanatical Elves Network, part of Fans First Sports Network. I'm your host, Johnny Cleveland, Johnny Cleveland's Diner, Johnny, whatever you want to call it. We love having you here, part of the Fanatical Elves. I'm trying to get a few things going here. Give me 1 minute as you're celebrating, you're finishing up your celebration. By the way, if you're not only a Browns fan, but you're a Buckeyes fan, the Buckeyes will be playing here momentarily. They are in the Cotton Bowl, yes, against the Missouri Tigers. Oh, that fiery football juggernaut of Missouri, the Missouri Tigers. The Missouri Tigers, Jordan Elliott. You guys all like Jordan Elliott? Well, Jordan Elliott is from Missouri, so he's had a hell of a season for the Brownies. We don't talk enough about players like Jordan Elliott, and on that line, on that defensive line. Again, last night, we'll get into all of that here in a minute, but just props to the entire organization, to Steady Eddie, Kevin Stefanski, to get to this moment. He is he's the second Cleveland Browns head coach in the history of the organization to get to 11 wins twice. And the only other player to have done that, or the only other coach to have done that in Browns history was, that's right, Paul Brown. So just stop. All of you, and that includes myself, over the years, I have been very critical of Steady Eddie. And we got to give props to this man. He is, what they are doing right now against all odds, the adversity, the Browns are facing adversity. Kevin Stefanski has faced adversity, and he's plowing through that with an amazing coaching staff and players that are wanting to play alongside of each other. And when it started, we don't all know. I mean, obviously, go back to week 2. Week 2, the Brownies are playing against those squealers, those damn squealers. And we thought the season was over when Nick Chubb went down with a horrific injury. And it was depressing as a Browns fan. Many of you know that. Many of you have been around the block a few times and have seen this and that as Browns fans. You've been there for all of that. So for this organization, for this team to do what they are doing at this present moment in time on this holiday, during this holiday season, is truly magical. It's something that you as a Browns fan need to take a step back, and hopefully you have, and really appreciate what you're seeing, especially us older Browns fans who have been around since the 70s and 80s and watched these teams. It's been such a long drought. And to the young fans that have never seen this team grow and expand and be what they are today, you'd need to take every step and sit back and appreciate what you're watching, because these are not normal times for Browns fans. This is something very unique, very different, and a lot of fun. Hell, it's a lot of fun, man. Here we go, Browns. I was down there last night, got a chance to go to the game with my awesome son, Alec, and we had a great evening. All the fans down there, it was electric, like everyone has said. the lights, the pregame, the halftime show was spectacular. That first half, the Browns put up 34 points, including that included a pick six by Ronnie Hickman. They gave them 34 points in the first half. 34. Now they scored 36 in the game the week before and all. You thought when they scored 34 in the first half that the rest of the game that they would expand on that a lot in the second half. That did not happen, but the Browns defense came to play. There were the Jets obviously don't have the best offense, but let's give some props to what the Jets do have. Breece Hall, the running back, the guy who's catching everything, I think caught 9 passes. Just some really good stuff there for them. They made the most of their opportunities. Joe Flacco made a mistake in that first half, and the Browns were up 27-7 and sort of going toward that next touchdown. He threw a deflected pass that got picked, taken back. But outside of those moments, those brief moments, the Browns really were in control. And just to see, I went back and I watched the game on TV, and I didn't have that opportunity yesterday because I was there in the stands. Just by the way, Al Michaels sucks. Let's just talk about that for a second. He has lost a step or two. His approach to that game was awful. If you're a Browns fan, no emotion, just ho hum. Just thought it was terrible. Didn't even recognize when Elijah Moore went down and was having an awful moment there with, seizuring on the field. He didn't even address that to begin with. He was just horrible. He should be reprimanded for not paying attention to what the hell is going on down on the field of play. Kirk Herbstreit did okay, but I don't know what the hell's going on with Al Michaels. But I watched the game on television. Let me tell you, the first half, watching it on the field, that pass that Flacco made when the Browns were already up 7-0, he made that amazing pass. Maybe might have been in that first position again to David Njoku. You saw it live. I was above it, and we thought Flacco, the way that he got rid of the ball, it looked like he was going to go to the sideline of the corner of the end zone, and he flicked it back and through basically the hands of a Jets player, and somehow Njoku, it was pristine. It was amazing throw at that moment in time. Njoku was unbelievable. The first 4 catches, 113 yards. He's sitting right now, I think, at 850 to 875 yards. Just terrific season. Obviously, he's blowing his career records out of the water. His best season before this was 650 yards, 675, something like that. He's been with the team now for 7 seasons, kind of like Myles Garrett. He and Myles came into the team the same year, that year prior in 2017, before, Baker got here in 2018. So props to David Njoku. I've been pretty critical, and I'm not the biggest David Njoku fan. Not a lot of you. I know many of you are more of a fan of his than I, but he's doing some things this season, and listening to other players like Myles Garrett talking about David Njoku, I got to give him some props. Sounds like he's matured a little bit. He's caring more about his team, his players, his teammates. There was a photo of Njoku with his arm hugging Nick Chubb along the players' benches during the game, which I thought was pretty cool. There's also a video of David Njoku signing autographs at the end of the game, which I thought was cool. He signed something for probably some 9 or 10-year-old, and then he got real excited in front of him and said, "Hey, we're going to the playoffs." And it was a genuine moment, and you'd like to see that from kids who are, these kids are, David Njoku's in his 20s, and these kids are learning and they're growing, and that's the thing that's making this amazing moment in Browns history even more special. You got a 38-year-old, going to be 39-year-old Joe Flacco, who has 5 children now of his own. I don't know how old his oldest is. There's a great photo of his 5 kids and his wife. His father, his mom were there at the game. His brother was there also in the stands. But just to see that, and then you combine it with the youth, Greg Newsome, Martin Emerson, these younger players coming along. Cedric Tillman, I know early on in the game, Flacco threw a ball to Cedric Tillman on that 4th down play that the Browns didn't convert, after they got that fumble. I know many of you, including myself, thought they should have just kicked the field goal, but Steady Eddie was trying to be aggressive. I get it, but it sounded like Cedric Tillman didn't cut across the back of the end zone. He kind of did a fade more than a cut. And so Flacco kind of got on him for that. But man, Flacco, man, he's spurting out all the profanity laced. If you watch the game, which I did again today, and I hadn't had, like I said, a chance to watch it while I was watching live, but some of that he was pumped up. At one point, he said, let's go Browns. You could hear him see that on his speech. So that was pretty cool, considering that he's a longtime Ratbird. So to come back to do these things, it's got to be surreal for the guy. And he even talked about it. He talked about it after the game, about how this is a moment for his kids and what his kids would remember. But he went on and talked about how this is a cool moment for him. It really is, truly, and that's what's making this whole thing so special. And man, Browns fans, this. We have earned this moment in time. This Browns team is doing things that we have only dreamed of seeing for decades, and now we're seeing it, and man, it's so much fun. So much fun. We're gonna pause here for a commercial break. This is the Johnny Cleveland podcast, and we're talking about the Browns being playoff bound on this Victory Friday. We'll be right back. If you're watching us on the live broadcast here on YouTube, on the X, thank you for joining us. We had the pause for our audio breaks, which you're not hearing those lovely commercials. We really need you to download this show on Spotify, on the Apple, on iHeart, any of those podcasting platforms. That's where we generate bazillions of dollars. Actually, it's like pennies. But we love the fact that you have joined us on the Fanatical Elves Network, and that you are spreading the love, telling other people about this Browns podcasting crew. We got a great group of guys. Steve Gill, who does the Dog Pound South show, he just had his show out this morning. Elliot does his Oracle Speaks, the Browniacs, the left guard. Joel Cade does his great What the Elf Was That? We got Sam down there in Arlington, Texas, the youngster, bringing his Browns breakdowns. We got Rod Bloom over there in the Dayton, Ohio region. Lots of you follow Rod on social media. He's a popular guy. He writes about the Brownies. He writes books. He does poetry. He does a little bit of everything. And Rod does his show, the Browns Blitz. So we love the fact that you listen to us. I do my Johnny Cleveland show like you're listening to right now, and we can't just tell you how much we appreciate you. And we just tell other folks about the Fanatical Elves. You need to tell everybody about us. We provide great content, a variety of content. I'm the irrational guy. I say a lot of crappy, stupid things that all of you Browns fans who are don't say, maybe outwardly, I'll say them because I like to be more irrational. Was texting with my fellow colleagues last night, and man, I was fed up with Jerome Ford. Now, here's the thing. Right? Jerome Ford, my son, Alec, reminds me, had just scored 2 touchdowns for the Browns and had spurred off several nice runs, and he really did. He had a really nice game. But then the frustration sets in the second half when he got, hit, fell to the ground. He got bailed out by having a shin on the ground, didn't fumble the first time. But then the second time, he takes that pitch and he just fumbles it back there, loses yardage again. And again, Jerome Ford can't do that. We're talking about the playoffs here. The Browns are going to rely on their run game, and they have got to protect the ball. And as soon as I was pissed off about Jerome Ford, then they bring in the other kid. I'm slipping here. Pierre Strong, the South Dakota Jackrabbit. Bring him in. He has a couple nice surges, nice runs. The fan next to me, we're talking about, hey, this Pierre Strong, he's a really good, physical, a little bit different kind of back than Jerome Ford, tall, 6 foot. And then what does he do? Well, he goes for that extra yardage, and he gets the ball stripped. And that's something that these young players, and we're so you can't tell these kids, not to do what they're doing. They're trying, but when you have had a Nick Chubb who's just 20 times the running back that most of these typical running backs are in the league, you just can't teach that. It's just instilled in what we see in Nick Chubb. So as Browns fans, we have definitely been spoiled in the run game. It was nice to see the Browns didn't really go out. They didn't need to go out there and throw the ball 40,000 times. They threw it 29 times. I think they ran the ball 28 times. A little bit more balanced attack. Obviously, I've been talking about that for several weeks now. This is, up till now, Flacco had thrown the ball 40 plus times for this first 4 games. The Browns are on a 4-game win streak now. Multiple times the Browns have done that, and it's thanks to Kevin Stefanski, Steady Eddie. So many things to talk about in this game. Elijah Moore, he got injured late in the game. It was a very scary moment and I saw it again on TV today where he was seizuring. I pray that he's okay. Let's hope that he can be all right and hopefully play by the time the playoffs go around. But those things are dangerous and those things are scary. And you see those things live, you definitely know that there's something there. And football is a dangerous sport. And when he went down, you could see how he went down straight on the temple of his helmet. This is why football can be rough and tough. But Elijah Moore was having a good moment. But now you speculate, okay, Amari Cooper, right? He couldn't go last night. I can't see the Browns, if they really don't need him in this game. Obviously, going up against Cincinnati in next week, there could be an AFC number 1 seed on the line. So I'm not going to rule out Amari Cooper playing. They're going to need him in the playoff, and he's going to need to step up big. Flacco, though, it's amazing. He's able to utilize all these other players that are little known. Now, a player like Marquise Goodwin, number 3, the wide receiver. Okay, I love Marquise. Marquise hasn't done a bazillion things for the Browns this year. He had a nice catch last week or the week before. The kid used to play for Buffalo with the University of Texas. He's an Olympian. He's just an amazing athlete. At the end, the touchdown that Jerome Ford ran, rumbled for 50-some yards. Did you take note? Go back and watch the highlight of that. Who was down there getting that last block? That's right, Marquise Goodwin. Number 3, the little guy, got enough of a block to help Jerome Ford get into the end zone that second time. That's the kind of crap that we got to see from these Browns, and that's why this team is 11-5. It's because of those little moments. It's just fantastic stuff. So I love to see Marquise. Hopefully he can get a couple more plays in there, get a couple catches as we go into maybe the Cincinnati game. Does Flacco play? Will be determined based on what happens on Sunday. Or is there a chance that that the Browns would sit him? I doubt that. I mean, the man needs to keep playing, needs to keep getting into the routine. So I definitely think that like the Browns are going to play many of their starters that are available, but so many of these guys are injured, right? That's the thing. I mean, so many of these guys are injured, and it's just the adversity that this team has fought through. It's something special. It is something special. We take nothing for granted here in Cleveland. Just enjoy the moment, and wherever this journey takes us, if it takes us to the Super Bowl. Does it take us to winning the Super Bowl? Any of that is plausible right now. All of it is. If you said at 7-5, coming back from the LA Rams game at a loss where Flacco would come in, did some nice things, and they lost that game, you could get Browns tickets for $5 for that Jacksonville game because the Browns fan base was upset. They were depressed. They weren't sure what would be in front of them. And all of this has just happened magically over the last 4 weeks. It's something special, and it's something we can't stop talking about. We have caught Flacco mania, and it's not going anywhere. So much more to talk about this week. So much more. But enjoy this weekend. Enjoy watching the Buckeyes if you're a Buckeye fan tonight. Enjoy watching the game on Sunday. I think they got some NFL. They have some NFL games tomorrow. And then Sunday, enjoy seeing how that all pans out. That Miami Ravens game is going to be big. Again, if you're a Browns fan, you want the Ravens to lose at home to the Dolphins. It's possible the Dolphins could pull one out of their hat and beat the Ravens in Baltimore. If that happens, then we got to hope that Miami loses to Buffalo, the Buffalo Bills. I believe that game is, I want to say that's over in Miami. And then we want to pray that the Squealers can beat the Ravens. And yes, folks, if that happens and the Browns can beat the Bengals a week from now, then the Browns, not only do they get the AFC North division title, they get the number 1 seed in the AFC playoffs. So some exciting stuff to anticipate and look forward to. I can't wait. I know you can't wait, but just enjoy the fact that these Brownies are going back to the playoffs. Everybody, thank you so much for joining us here on the Johnny Cleveland podcast. I always like to remind you at the end of the show too, that's right, keep smiling. Take care, everybody. Go Browns! I got to find my music. Oh, there we go. See ya.